Tracy Castleberry here for ITEC 7430 for my lesson plan project. I did Evolution and the History of Life. I chose this topic because sometimes the students fuss about it. They don't like the unit, they don't like the topic. Sometimes they have religious objections to it. So I thought maybe that if I integrated some online tools that they might be more engaged and enjoy the topic a little bit more. The content standards basically are the relationship between single and multicelled organisms, more specifically the evolutionary basis of classification, the role of natural selection in evolution, the history of the theory, and the history of life in terms of biodiversity, ancestry, and the rates of evolution, fossil and biochemical evidence, and natural selection and changes. The ITSE standards included 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And some examples would be creativity, because the students had to make a product and they had to creatively think about how to classify organisms. They did communicate and collaborate with each other. They did have to do some research. Critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. They had to play the role of a scientist. So they actually had to critically think about the hypothesis and the evidence that supports it. We did discuss digital citizenship, although this became one of the small issues that I had that I'll discuss in a moment, and being able to use technology. The lesson plan was over 2 weeks. It was 3 parts. Part 1, they had to post to a class Padlet page or a wiki to help summarize after the material was presented. They also took a formative quiz on Socrative. There were some videos that they could choose on PBS Evolution site, and they had to write a research proposal and submit it to the online submission tool in Aspen, which is our family portal. And they also had to create their own dichotomous key using Google presentations. Some of the online tools used, I used Padlet. This is the Padlet page. They had to list one thing that they learned about evolution. Or they could have chosen to do the wiki, which was here. The PBS Evolution, there were 2 videos that they got to choose between. They could do the leafcutter ants, or the tail of the peacock, which was very interesting because they actually had to discuss sexual selection and females choosing a mate. And then they had to build a Google presentation. And this is the Google presentation where they had to classify. And for this, they chose the characteristic to classify the organisms in the class, which were the students. They used their shoes, which was it really worked out well. I differentiated by using ability level grouping. They could choose a wiki or a Padlet. They got to choose how to set up their dichotomous key, and they got a choice on which characteristic to use. There were some issues with Google Drive becoming sluggish, so I had another computer for them to use. Netiquette, they tried to erase each other's information off the wiki, and I got really upset about that. And I had to make sure I was out in the population and not sitting behind my desk. It went well. The digital tools did seem to make a difference. There was only one minor technology hiccup, and the netiquette thing, I never dreamed that they would try to erase each other's work. So if I do this again, I'm going to make sure that I spend a lot of time talking about that. That was kind of a shock to me because I didn't expect the students to do that. But overall, I'm very pleased with the way everything went. Thank you.